also running somewhere. This is where Liferay portal is running. And if I redeploy again, module. Maybe this is just well. No, I think that as there's no change, nothing has been done.
It's already
Yeah. One of the things that OCI shows us is once we deploy the new module is going to override, it's going to stop the former one, and it's going to start again the new change. So if I go and I try to invoke URL REST dot organization, should get let me check if this is called. No, sequence converting. Well, this is the kind of things. This is why you should never try to leave them on.
The debugging process is also interesting.
Yeah. Let me see, I have user specification. Yeah. It's user specification. The thing is, I was trying to remove and put things just before starting the talk, and this is the kind of thing that could happen. But we have a recipes application. At least this should work.
Can you basically check, see if it's there?
Yeah, this is what I try to do. No, it should be your, because this is let me see.
Oh, the configuration.
No, not the application. I have some heroes here. That should not be
There you go. Okay.
I was trying to, well, we will come to this later on, but I was the request I was doing was asking for something that.
Raw request.
Exactly. So basically, if I request the organization, what I'm going to have is a JSON which corresponds to the structure of the organization, taking into account that we have all these elements. All of those are annotated with JAX-B annotations, and after that we have an address which is also a DTO.
That's the notation is XML.
Yeah.
Even if we are using JSON.
Exactly, because the framework, the JSON serializer are using the same annotations that you were using with JAX-B. This is you could change the serializers. You could use Jackson, or you could use. But in the worst case, you can start just with the same annotations that you were using with SOA. Well, this is the first thing. So it's easy to register a service, a JAX service in our whiteboard, because the only thing that we need to create is that application, register as an OCI component, register the different resources, create the methods, annotate the methods with the different URLs mapping, and then deploy this. Well, of course, you need to have these JAX-B annotations in order to instruct the framework, the JAX-O, the framework how to serialize and use. So the problem with this is the usual way that we are writing REST or REST services right now. We are just returning JSON objects, and this has a number of challenges when the APIs that are designed this way. The first one is we need to create documentation to know how we are going to use those APIs. We need to take care of any kind of change that we do to our model, to PTO, or even to the URLs. If we change the URLs, we need to tell any customer or any client that is consuming our API which is the new URL. Even if we version the different elements, which in the end comes with little reusability. So the problem, this is one of the problems that is people is complaining about REST these days, and there are a lot of new, or there are some new frameworks to create APIs. I don't know if you have heard about, we have QL, which is a new framework for, it's not a thing, but it's kind of a different thing. So the first thing that we try to consider is, can we solve this challenge without using something which is not REST? And the thing is that REST has been, or HTTP, this has been here for a long time. And this, if you take a look at the different technologies that has come around the web, there has been a lot. This graph is basically the evolution of the web over the years. Right here we have the first HTTP version, the first browser who came up. I don't know, this should be like 1985 or something like that. Then we came with Netscape, Opera, introduced the first version of Internet Explorer, and you can see that at the very beginning there were not so many different technologies. There were so few tools to connect to the web. But as the time goes, there's a lot of new browsers, frameworks, versions of JavaScript, or different ways of accessing the web. And this, I think this is like 2012. You can see that even now there are a lot of new technologies. So the pace, the speed in which new technologies are appearing right now, it's even bigger now. And HTTP has survive all this technology change. So we think that REST is still a possibility because Roy Fielding, this guy created a thesis in 2000, and one of the things that he was doing is that REST is not a framework, it's not an architecture. REST is an abstraction on the architectural style that makes things being able to evolve to the different technologies that are here on the web. And regarding to that, there's also a very good talk by Mike Amundsen. This is from this summer or maybe last summer in Australia. I recommend you to watch, which he says that there are 12 patterns to create evolvable APIs, and most of them are basically using REST and using HTTP. Things that were designed on the HTTP protocol since the very beginning. But the two key things are those ones. The first one is hypermedia, which when we started to create REST was like the thing that everyone forgot about. And the other one was the server vocabulary. So based on those two keystones, we are going to be able to write evolvable APIs. So these are one of the things that has inspired the tools that we are doing in Liferay. Well, let's start with hypermedia. Hypermedia means for us that we need to, if we take back a look at how the web works, it's much easier because when you create a website, you don't give a listing of all the URLs that your website has to your customers, which is, by the way, what we are trying to do with our APIs. When we create our APIs, we try to set a list of all the resources that we are going to have, on our API, and we are going to try to document those to our customers. The main point is that when we change those URLs or those services, we need to change the documentation and to send back that documentation to our customers. But that's not the way that the web works. How does the web works? Basically, we need just one single URL, the home URL. We go to, for example, liferay.com, and we have a landing page, a root page, which is going to give us a menu of the different things that we can do. Maybe a different list of contents for the home URL, and from that point we can decide as customers with our browser, we can decide which link we are going to press, how we are going to navigate. But the same thing could be done for the APIs. If we give just a home URL for our home API, in which we are going to put the main components or the main resources that the customers can use, we don't need to give a list of all our services anymore. I'm going to see how it works a little bit later. And the other main thing that we have with hypermedia is the link types. Also, again, if we take a look at how the web works, basically when we receive an HTML page, even the same root HTML page, the browser is getting a lot of different links because it's getting some images, it's getting some anchors, it's getting some URLs for CSS resources or for JavaScript resources, and the browser knows those different links how should be interpreted. If I get an anchor, I just need to draw the text with an underline in a special color so that anyone can click. If I receive a link which corresponds to a JavaScript, the browser knows that needs to download it and execute it. If it receives an image link, the browser knows that needs to get the image and render that image in a particular position. So basically we can do exactly the same with our APIs. The only thing that I skip is in the web, we know that there are different type of links. In the API, what we are going to say is that we have affordances. Affordances are hints, are information that can give a hint to the user on how that particular element should be used. This is what is called affordances. So, for example, what we are starting to do is we are creating a home URL for all the APIs defined in Liferay, and this is going to be the same for every version. It's going to be /o/API, and if we point there, we are going to have a JSON object which is going to link to the main elements that we could use, the main resources, the main endpoints that we can navigate from here. For example, on a Liferay, default Liferay installation, we have cloud crossing, we have people, which are the users. So that way, the only thing that we need is that home URL, and from that we can decide that we want the cloud postings or we want to retrieve the different people. Again, this simplifies the thing that if we receive a JSON, we need some information. That if we are receiving an information that has a different structure or a structure that I know, we could have the information or we could know how to use it. For example, think that a part of the specific data that we want to retrieve, we will get back to this in a bit, but a part of that information, we have a structure of the document which, for example, gives an embedded field in which we are going to receive the concrete data that we want to receive, but at the same time, we discover that the message has some kind of structure in which we have a total, an account, and a first, and a next, and a last. That, what do you think that this could correspond to? Maybe this is a listing, because if you have an embedded element, and you have a count, a total, we can. This is what an affordan is. Because of this particular structure, I can guess that this is a listing. And I can have some links to navigate between the different pages of the very same listing.
I don't understand. Because how do you know what the content is? Yes,
Well,
you have paging, but what is the content?
Imagine that in this case, you are receiving, you could get the same information from here, because from the structure, if I invoke a service, and the service is going to return the very first thing that returns is this open bracket, maybe I can guess that this is an array. So if this is an array, it's a list of things. But how many things do we have? Maybe I can count parsing the JSON object. Do you understand that?
So when you have XML, you have some signature, you have not a signature, you have a definition of the data. You don't have that definition in JSON. What you are saying is that you are guessing the structure of the data from the JSON data?
Not the data, but the message, the structure of the message. Because we will come back to the structure of the data, of the particular data in this case. This is a restaurant. This is the structure of a restaurant. But because this restaurant is inside bracket, I can guess that this is a list of restaurants, which happens to be just one. The thing is that, okay, how could I possibly know how many restaurants are there, or if I need to ask for another page? Or then one of the proposals by a working group which created something which is called, this is what these different message structures are called multimedia types or hypermedia types, which is basically a structure in which if you see that there is a total account, some links, and an embedded field, this corresponds to a list. And these links, first, next, last, are the specification of the different URLs, the different endpoints that you should request in order to navigate the
They
list.
will always be first, next, and last.
Yes.
You cannot replace first by begin.
No, because those are defined by a standard, which are IANA link relations. So this is the key. Hub has decided to create that structure, but first, next, and last has a very special meaning when they are inside a link. So this is what an affordance is, because I find those specific attributes have a specific meaning defined by IANA link relations, means that this is listing that you can navigate. Now think, because maybe you are thinking on how difficult this is from the point of view of a backend developer that needs to create not only this serialization, but all this structure. The good news is that with the tool that we are creating, we are not going to be able to do that. That's the good news. But think for a moment on what a front-end developer can do, or a mobile application developer can do. I don't know which structure of the message you are sending, but as I see that you have links with a first, last, and total account, I can use that to draw this component, which is the pagination toolbar, for every single service that's going to return a list of elements. And I know when you click on this button or this element, which URL I need to invoke, because the complete URL came up on the last response.
Those free URLs were not there.
No,
Well,
it's not the same.
You have the first two.
You had the first, you have the last, the next. Well, maybe this is.
You don't have one for free.
Well, in this case, no, but you could calculate because you know how many elements do you have.
So I don't know the elements.
Yeah, we will come to this because the IANA links.
Also specified.
Also, you could specify more links here to specify that information, but it's not a complete example, but it's just to give you the idea of how the affordances works with an API. Then again, we are going to know that more information, because we don't only want to navigate for the listing, but maybe we want to create new elements or delete one element or this kind of thing. So another affordance that we could have is an actions element, which basically say the different options or the different actions that I could do. And this means that you can delete an item, which means delete blog posting with delete, and for that, the only thing that you need when you want to delete a blog posting, the only thing that you need to do is invoke a delete HTTP method over this URL that is specified here. With that information, which is a lot of information, you could, for example, look at here, I'm changing the kind of structure because there are too many different standards, or there are some different standards which specify the different messages should be different. The structure of the messages should be different, which is a mess also until the end of the talk. So, JSON LD specifies that those operations should be specified in an operation, not in an actions. This is where the different working group started to think in different messages, and this is what, as backend developer, means that well, this is too difficult, I don't care, I'm not going to go with the Hypermedia thing, I'm going to keep my API simple, and I'm going just to return simple plain JSON, and then work a lot of all those documentation that I need to add to my API. Well, with those operations, the front-end developer, again, if he knows or she knows how those operations are specified, maybe they can create this kebab menu in order to draw just a set of operations that each of these elements bring in the response. And when someone clicks on any of the menu options, the client knows exactly which is the URL that they should invoke with which method, because it was already present in the response, in the previous response. More things that we can add to the folder size. Maybe for some of the elements, I need to specify which fields I can create. I'm going to start skipping a lot of this information because it's not. It's a lot of things that we need to keep in mind when creating hypermedia, full hypermedia types. For example, another thing that we can create, instead of specifying all the fields that you should send on a read or a post quickly to add a new blog posting, maybe I can use something that is called forms, which basically is referring to another resource which specify on this URL the structure of the form that you should draw on the screen. It's a lot of information. And as API developers, it's a lot of things that we don't want to take into account. Again, one of the things that Mike Anderson was saying is when we decide an API, we need to take care of the messages that we are sending, and which are the vocabularies and the structure of the messages that we are changing with our customers. So the second important thing, the other column that we had, was the shared vocabularies. The shared vocabularies means that we need to try to avoid to expose our internal models because, for example, for us, a restaurant or an organization has a meaning, but if the people using Liferay are using Liferay for creating restaurants and the organizations are restaurants, they have kind of a different meaning, the organization with the restaurant. So what we need to try is when we design our API, we need to take care of which are the vocabularies, which are the models that we are exposing. But again, there are some standards. In this case, there's something called schema.org, which basically is has a lot of definition for a lot of things, a lot of types, a blog posting, a website, a resource, a person. And the good thing on this is that they have defined a lot of attributes with the specific meaning, and they are standard. So if we can try to use some type from the schema, we should stick to them. If not, we maybe have our own vocabularies that define a schema and never expose the internal models. Define a schema, define the structure of the message, thinking on what the customers are going to request, are going to need from your API. Well, this is one of the samples of schema.org, blog posting with a set of attributes, and they have already defined, very well defined, which is the meaning and the specific use of any of those attributes. So, again, if we have our plain JSON object, we have a lot of elements that were from our internal model. So we need to try to decide or to try to find a better scheme. What does that mean? All this complexity, what makes is that most of the people start to decide to design APIs, and this is what is called the resource of maturity model. And Martin Fowler created this graph by specifying that the different kind of REST services that we could have. And most of the time, because of all this complexity, we just use JAX-RS and expose that service, and we are just simply serializing not into XML but into something different, which is JSON, an internal model, or at least a model which is more decoupled. But we are not giving any other information on how this API should be used. So finally, what are we trying to do? What are we trying to do to improve our own APIs and library, and to make easy for any library developer to create better APIs? We have created a tool which is called Apio, which in Spanish Apio means celery. I don't know which is the word in Portuguese.
Means what?
Celery.
Celery.
I?
In Portuguese,
It's just
in Portuguese it's aipo.
Aipo.
Well,
Well, this is I don't know if it's a joke with an engine, or because before that the tool was called Vulkan, but we decided to change with maybe with APO. Well, what are we doing here? Basically, what are we doing here is just the goal is try to make any developer, any library developer, to focus on the vocabulary and to create a simple JAX-RS service. And we are going to try to take care of the rest of hypermedia controls and this kind of the different hypermedia formats and this kind, and all the rest we are going to create that automatically. And I will show you how. Well, the first thing, the key thing here is we are going to use what we call a representative, the representative pattern. This is a picture of, I don't know if you have seen this picture, any of you. This is from a French artist who created a picture of a pipe, and the writing says, this is not a pipe. And of course, this is not a pipe. This is the representation of a pipe. So the same thing applies for our APIs. We are exposing our models. We are sending to our customers a representation of an internal or a model that we want to expose. But the format, the way in which we are going to represent that specific model could be different depending on the different customers. For example, one customer could have this printed in photographic paper, another could have this as a drawing, but it's still the same representation. So this is what we are going to try to do. For that, Apio what introduces the concept of the representative pattern, which is something that we are going to create automatically. So this is the different hypermedia formats. The very same concept could be rendered in different structures depending on the hypermedia format. So if you are trying to consume or to create a REST API, which of those formats is the best one? Maybe none, maybe all of them. It depends on the consumer. We as a backend developers cannot decide which is the best format, because every format will have better and worse things depending on the consumer that is invoking our API. So what we are going to do is use something which is called content negotiation, which basically means that we are going to ask our, basically this is what was making that my first trial wasn't working. What we are going to ask for the customer is to make the request including a header, an HTTP header, which is specifying which format do you want for the representation. And those formats correspond to different hypermedia format types. So our server, our service will know which is the structure of the model that we want to represent, and we will take care of the concrete representation, the concrete hypermedia format the customer wants, and we'll be able to render. How this is done? Basically by creating what we call a type. A type is basically an interface. Think that we already have our previous JAX-RS model, and now we are going to define a restaurant, and what we have created is a certain types of annotations to specify that this is a type, this is something that we want to expose. And for every method, we are going to annotate which is the identifier. This is a field that should be checked. This should correspond to the schema or the vocabulary that we have defined. We are specifying that this leads to another resource. This is somehow how you use hibernate or some ORM. This is basically the same idea. We are representing not just the model, but the model and the relationships. And with that, with all this information, the only thing that we need to do is take our model and make that implement that type. Our JAX-RS model is going to implement a type. Because the type has all the different elements and also the relationship between them, this person type will also have different fields and maybe another linked model and these kind of things. Because all this information put in annotations, Appio can draw a graph of the relationship of every model. So whenever we need to render something, the different representer is going to know which is the structure in HAL, silent, or any of the hypermedia formats that you want to render. So when we implement the type, we no longer need any of those JAX-P annotations. And at least if we don't want to keep also the rest involved. If we just want to have our main RESTful service. So basically the representer, what does is use all that information to create a model that can be used to represent. The second component that we need is basically the router. The router is the same idea of the resource in JAX-RS. In fact, the idea is compare the resources. Do you remember the annotations that we have on JAX-RS with the path, the get, and that information? Well, this is exactly the same code. The only thing that we are changing is we no longer need all those OSGI annotations. We don't need to know how to register a JAX-RS service on the OSGI, because Appio already knows that he's running on an OSGI container, and he's going to register using those annotations for us. So for us, it's as simple as define this as another component. And we don't need the URLs here anymore, because the URLs are going to be constructed based on the relations between the models, because we have here a restaurant that has a link to a person. That means that maybe this concrete person has a URL that can be constructed before the restaurant. So we are going to see this working in a while. But the only thing that we need to do is add the annotation that this is going to retrieve information, and optionally, entry point means that this is one of the resources that should be discoverable from the home URL. And this means that when I point my browser to o/API, the home URL is going to include an endpoint to access to retrieve a list of restaurant types. And then I will be able to go to the restaurant type and etc. So we're defining the action, the entry point, and this is important. We need to implement this interface, which is going to instruct Appio to create a new endpoint. This is the different notation that we could use: create, remove, replace, retrieve, and the entry point for specifying that this is a main resource. Another thing that we could do is we could use annotations on the parameters to say that this is an ID, and that means that Appio is going to add that information to the URL. Remember the JAX address that was having on the path and a specific area for the ID. So Appio is going to do this automatically. We can instruct that we are going to get the blog posting from the body of the request, or even we could define that we have an ID which corresponds to a parent component. In this case, will be the blog post, but this group ID corresponds to the ID of the organization or the website to which this blog should be applied. Also, we have automatically in Appio, there are some specific elements that are identified as key elements, like the user is retrieved from the context because we have activated the authorization mechanism. So this is going to be automatically filled with the user that has logged into the system. Or if we have pagination of its items, Appio is going to know that this is going to be a paginated list, and it's going to create these specific links, this specific structure to navigate the page for us. So this should be the way that an action router could look like. So it's easier because we can focus on implementing how the different things are going to be retrieved, and we are going to get the representation and the handling of all those independent types to Appio. So let's see this as an example. I'm going to create very quickly. Let's say that I have this structure and my former resources. Those are my JAX services. And what we are going to do is, I'm going to keep those, and I'm going to create the very same components, but with as actions. So, for example, I can start by creating an action router. Well, first of all, I need to create the types. I have already created them. The only thing that I need to do is, for those that are identified with a specific ID, I need to extend a specific interface which is identifier to specify which is the type of the identifier. This is mandatory because there's no other way that Appio could retrieve the information of the type of the ID that it's going to put on the different parts of the URL. So in this case, I have the person type, the postal address, the restaurant type. The restaurant type has a linked model to the person type. And also I have here a related collection, which means that is a list of recipes. Then the next thing that I need to do is, as I have told, I need to implement, to make my former DTOs implement the types. This is address postal address type. This would be restaurant type. And here you can see one of the good things here, because my DTO, my model is called user DTO, but the type is person type, because my schema, my server vocabulary is called person type. So this is where I'm going to adapt the internal DTO, internal model to whatever I want to create. For example, here I could try to handle different versions of the internal model with the same external model, with the same type. Once that I have implemented the different types, the only thing that I need to do is to convert these resources with the different points into attributes. In this case, I'm going to keep the original one, but trust me, the code is exactly the same, and if not, you can try with the workshop that I'm going to show you in a while. For that, the only thing that I need to do is to implement the action router and say that this is an action router of a concrete type, because this type is what AppU is going to look in order to create the graph. I'm going to activate, I'm going to say that this is an entry point, and this is a method that will retrieve information. And the implementation is basically going to call my internal service, and is going to adapt and to create the new organization DTO, which is implementing the type that I have. I can do the same for the other routers. This was in-person router. We are almost done. And now, if everything is right, I can try to deploy it. The module has started again. So now I can try to go to the home URL of the Liferay API, and if everything goes right, see that what I have here is a list of the main resources of all the entry points that I have created for my API, which basically in this case is the restaurant, and it's giving me the information using a concrete hypermedia type, of which are the ID of the API that I can navigate to. I'm going to invoke restaurant, see that I'm navigating from the API in the same way that I will be navigating from the web. And the resource says that this is a list, it has one item, and it's showing just one item. This view is the structure that this concrete representation hypermedia format is giving for giving the information about the pagination and so on. It's saying that this is the self URL to us again for the URL. On the member attribute is saying all the structure, but one of the things that I can ask here, because one of the problems that has these services is that what happens if I want to know the name of every chef that is related to all the restaurants? I do need, because I'm retrieving the list of restaurants. The list of restaurants in this case is just one, but the restaurant is giving me an URL which corresponds to the chef ID. If I invoke this URL, I get the information of this chef. But if I want all the things at the same time, that means that I need to make a request for the list and then another request for every restaurant. One of the good things that we can have, thanks to the hypermedia types and thanks to Appio by default, is that I can ask to embed the information of every chef ID by using a specific attribute in the chef ID. Now I'm having all the information for the restaurant, but also in the same request, I'm having embedded all the information for the chef. So this is something that Appio is giving for us, is doing for us, thanks to all that annotated information that we have added to the model. And Appio is doing this. And what happens if we want a different representation? We can ask by default, Appio is returning JSON LD, which is basically the same, but if I want to get the information in another hypermedia type, see, the only thing that I have done is just change the header, and on the server, I haven't changed anything. So by default, Appio is giving support for different hypermedia formats. And this is basically done, the magic is done because we have all the information thanks to the hypermedia types. So, well, more things that we could create by default is, we could even specify which, if we don't want to retrieve the whole message or the whole model, we could specify which fields do we want for every type. In this case, for the person, for the chef, we are only getting the name and the image. Whatever other information is done is filtered out. We could also create sort easily for the collections, or filtering using queries, or we could use these elements to know which page do we want. So the thing is that these are standards, these are defaults. So this is the only thing that we need to create. So the structure of the URLs is well known. More things that we could add to the future. For example, another thing that we are considering to add is, once that we have our types, we could even add devalidation annotations in order to make it easy to validate any request that we receive. For example, if you submit a blog posting and we say that the title is mandatory, the only thing that you will need to do is annotate the blog posting tag with a mandatory annotation, which are standard annotations specified by these job specification requests. So very easily we could the idea is that we are going to add this kind of validation for our APIs. And also, about the documentation, we can generate the documentation very easily because we have one home URL and all our API could be navigated from that home URL. And all the, if you pay attention, one of the things that I'm retrieving, well, maybe not in part, but one of the things that we are retrieving is the type. And that type, in this case we haven't added any kind of context, but we could have the schema here. If it's a person from schema.org, we could add the context here. so that when you navigate and you are browsing over the different URLs and the different types, you could go to schema.org and get that information and create the documentation very easily from there. And update it.
I was going to ask if you can add new types to the schema.org.
Well, you can propose them. I don't know how easy or how quick they can add those, but you can also, in this case, you could also define your own schema.
If you wanted to add a schema for the Spain administrative regimes.
In fact, for example, there was a specific, there was another initiative, not from schema.org, but for example, for banking systems, I know that there was another initiative to try to model all the concepts from banking. So maybe schema is not the right one for you, but you could use another one. And if not, you can also define your own schema and just add the information, because one of the things that we are going to add is you could have an annotation of you are defining the type. You could define which is the URL in which you have published your schema. So that information could be easy to respond. So finally, let's gather up. Our idea is to allow the developers to focus on the vocabulary, to spend time defining which are the models that you want to expose, and this is the most important thing. And after that, we are going to try to make it easy to create IP media REST APIs, given that you have provided, the developer has provided information about the types and how they relate to each other. So this is the final point. There's there's some slides here with a workshop. It's very easy, and basically the only thing that you need to do, and it's the last demo that I'm going to do is, the only thing that you need to do is I have downloaded here a portal at 7. The latest version, and I have unzipped it, and then I have cloned this app. Your workshop is the clone for the repository. So the only thing that you need to do is, let me change into the portal. I'm going to copy the URL. So the only thing that you need to do is switch to Happy Workshop as you have installed in my previous. And then maybe it's going to be easier if I should use my here in Active Workshop, you have some in the repository. When you clone the repository, you have all the internal recipes. This is the internal stuff for the workshop to work. This is the workshop folder is the only project that you need to work on. And but before that, the only thing that you need to do is go to the library recipes, look for the other properties,